Hey everyone, it's Chris here. My good friend Jackie Flaherty here from Flaherty Fit up in SF. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. Anyway, Jackie's here to help us understand how better to use and use the Keiser. So I'll give it to Jackie.
Okay, so today I'm gonna show Chris how to do the 6-rep test on the Keiser. And basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna try and find an optimal training load. And so once we find that optimal load, then we can work on programming from that load. So we're gonna use the lat pull down as our exercise. So this will be for like later purposes for programming the lat pull down. So the first thing that's most important is when you approach this machine, know that when it says off, it still has a load on it. So if I press minus, you can see that the load is at 38.5. That's gonna stay even when the screen reads off. So just heads up. So when we are running the 6-rep test, you wanna come up to the machine, press the plus and the minus button at the same time so that the screen goes to clear and then 6R. Once it's at 6R, you're gonna see this number in the top right corner that says P1. For the first 3 reps of this test, we're gonna choose an extremely light weight, and it should feel really light. So we'll make this for the sake of 15 pounds. All right, so I'm gonna have Chris drop down on his knees, or one knee, however you prefer to coach it, grab the handles, and then on the count, I'm gonna ask him to pull as hard as he can 3 times. And we wanna make sure that the number in the upper right-hand corner changes each time. So we're gonna go 1 time, go. And so we notice that number didn't change. So I'm gonna have him do it again, go. Go.
Am I not pulling hard?
It might be too light for you. 1 more, go. And relax, good. So now, you can let these go. We can see he got his 3 reps in, just didn't change with each one, so that's fine. So he got his 3 reps in at the light weight, and we can see that he was at 100% of his max power output, which was 957, well, I think that's watts. But anyway, so you would write that down. If I had a piece of paper, I'd write down 957 was his peak power output at 15 pounds. So now, for the next 3 reps, we're gonna bump this up a lot. So the key to this test is keeping a pretty big differential between the lightweight and the heavyweight. So we'll bring him all the way up to 45. And same thing, I'm gonna ask him to do 3 reps of that lat pull down as fast as possible. So ready, and go. 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 And relax. Good, let him go. So now, if you zoom into this screen, we can see that 36.2 is going to be his optimal load for the lat pull down. So based on that number, the 36.2, depending on how you want to program, if we're programming for like hypertrophy and like low reps, we might want to use a higher number than 36, but if we're going for something maybe a little bit more muscular endurance, or you want just a lighter weight high rep scheme, you would go for under 36. So you know that around 36.2 will be his optimal load. So now, if we and that peak power output is 1,729. That's just kind of fun if you want to mess around with it later. But so now, if I bring his weight to that 36.2, or in that vicinity, a kind of fun test that you can do is to see how many reps your client can get at above 90% of their peak power output. So if they can get like 40 reps of that, then you might know that, oh wait, maybe 36.2 was an underestimate of their optimal load, and you maybe want to run the test one more time. If they can get, a handful, then you know that that is the correct optimal load. And so, what was that last number here? 1762. So we know that. So I'm gonna have you go ahead and do as many lat pull downs as you can, keeping this number above 90.
It's gonna keep that in mind already.
I'm gonna keep that in mind as your coach. Okay. And go. 2, good. Come on. So you can see he's starting to slip. Go 2 more. Done. Cut the test. You're at 8 and 9. Okay, so we can see he did 14 reps, but he never got that same peak power output that he got during the test.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, just a fun little, that's just a fun little added exercise to get in there. But so we do know that 36.2 is probably the right optimal load for him. Chris was working, you could hear him breathing, audibly exhaling with each rep, and you could see that number just starting to shrink over time. So that's a great number to base your programming off of, and that's probably the easiest way to use the Keiser. My only other tip about the Keiser is don't be afraid to move fast. You absolutely will not hurt yourself. So if you are worried about a client, even a lower skilled or beginner client should not feel at all like to just come here and pull as fast as you can. Nobody's gonna get hurt. So the resistance is the same on both ends of both phases of the muscle contraction. So instead, you never have to overcome inertia to get that weight moving. So that's why we get a smoother feel. And so it's one of the best benefits. You can use this as more of a metabolic type machine as well. So you could take a client at the end of the workout and have them burn out, like even doing bent over rows. But the faster you go, I mean, you can get a pretty good heart rate response from it too. So I like to use it not only for strength, but also sometimes for metabolic purposes, depending on the focus of that day's training.